What will future Americans say we did in our brief time right here on Earth? Did we take risks? Did we dare to defy expectations? Did we challenge accepted wisdom and take on established systems? I think I did, but we all did, and we're all doing it. Or did we just go along with convention, swim downstream so easily with the current? Remember this, nothing worth doing ever came easy. Following your convictions means you must be willing to face criticism from those who lack the same courage to do what is right. And they know what is right, but they don't have the courage or the guts or the stamina to take it and to do it. In my short time in Washington, I've seen firsthand how the system is broken. A small group of failed voices who think they know everything and understand everyone want to tell everybody else how to live and what to do and how to think. But you aren't going to let other people tell you what you believe, especially when you know that you're right. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. You have to do what you love. You have to do what you love. I've seen so many people, they're forced through lots of reasons, sometimes including failure, to go down a path that they don't want to go down, to go down a path that leads them to something that they don't love, that they don't enjoy. You have to do what you love, or you most likely won't be very successful at it.
Remember, the president told you everything you need to know. It's the outsiders that make a difference in our nation. It's the outsiders that tell you, well, they don't tell you, they show you. They show you how powerful you are, how strong you are, how you are able to overcome everything if you actually strive to do what you love. And we love freedom, and that is it. So I thought today I could start with a video that is quite interesting, and it's a fascinating story. I wanted to share it with you just to let it percolate for a bit. It's about a guy who came out of a 12-year coma, and what he told everyone was amazing. Take a listen.
About ghosts and other paranormal beings, but about the condition that every person can face: a coma, an absence of reactions, loss of consciousness, in which you seem to freeze between our world and the other side. Having fallen into a coma, some people have been in the state for many years, and doctors still can't make any forecasts. But among the many sad stories, there are those that can be called a real miracle. So we'll talk about them today. Martin Pistorius was born in South Africa in 1975. In January 1988, when the boy was 12 years old, one day he came home from school and complained of a sore throat. It would seem that such a problem is treated with the simplest medications, but Martin never returned to school. His condition disastrously worsened, and doctors could not understand what was happening to the boy. A few days later, he was so exhausted that he almost completely lost control of his body and slept all the time. Soon, he began to quickly lose memory, and a couple of days later, fell into a coma. The cause of the disease was never established. Martin had long been treated for cryptococcal meningitis and cerebral tuberculosis, but everything was useless. After a while, the doctors admitted that Martin completely lost touch with the outside world, and nothing more can be done to help him. He was discharged from the hospital, and the parents were told that they could only look after him and wait for the disease to do its job. Of course, there was a tiny chance that the boy would recover, but the doctors claimed he would never be able to return to normal life. In a state of coma, people rarely live long, but Martin, contrary to all predictions, kept hanging on to his life. However, was this existence a real life? He spent more than 10 years at home. Everyone thought that he'd lost all contact with the outside world, but Martin claims that he regained consciousness a couple of years after he fell ill. "I was completely unresponsive. I was in a virtual coma. I was lost in the land where dragons lie and no one could rescue me," Martin shared. When he was 17 years old, he completely regained his consciousness. Memory returned to him, but the guy still couldn't talk. He felt like a ghost because people seemed to look through him, and Martin himself could only watch them. "However much I tried to beg and plead, shout and scream, I couldn't make them notice me," Martin wrote later. "The stark reality hit me that I was going to spend the rest of my life like that, totally alone." The guy was trapped, and his only interlocutor was his own thoughts that could not be called joyful. Once Martin even heard his mother, in a fit of despair, said that it would be better if all this ended right now, no matter how. This was the most terrible moment in his life. The boy was hurt, but he understood that she said it because she considered herself to be a bad mother that can't help her beloved son. The only one who believed in the boy until the very end was his father. Every day he washed and fed Martin, dressed and even made a massage. Inside, I cried desperately to him. "Dad, I'm here. Can't you see?" But he didn't notice me. I could only stare, praying my silent desperation would somehow communicate itself, recalls Martin. To train the brain, the boy constantly solved problems in his mind, and one day everything changed. When Martin was 25, one of the paramedics that worked with him noticed his faint attempts to make it clear that he was present. A meaningful look, a barely perceptible smile, a nod. Martin was urgently sent to a special center for alternative communication at the University of Pretoria, where he passed various tests and proved to be conscious. Learning about the improvements of the son's health, the mother quit her job and for the next 2 years helped Martin to develop a special computer program with which Martin can now communicate. He chooses words and the laptop speaks for him.
"Hello, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Martin Pistorius."
Having received the opportunity to communicate, the guy was able to finish college and even got a job as a designer at a web company. Long and heavy rehabilitation did its job. A facial expression returned to Martin, the movements of the upper body. In 2008, he met his sister's friend Joanna. A year later, they got married and lived happily together in the UK. "I'm happy with who I am," says Martin. "Life can change so quickly. It is important to appreciate what you have at the moment." In 2011, Martin Pistorius' book Ghost Boy was published, in which he told his story and shared all the experiences that he'd had while he was locked inside his own body. Martin calls on everyone to treat each other with kindness, respect, and sympathy. Never underestimate the power of reason, the importance of love and faith, and don't ever stop dreaming. But no matter how marvelous the story of Martin seems, it's not the only one. In 2007, a Polish guy named Jan Grzyzewski came to his senses after spending 19 years in a coma. Yes, friends, for 19 years. In the 80s, Jan, who was at that time 46 years old, worked as a trackman on the railway. But during the work, he was seriously injured by a fastening of the car and was urgently sent to the hospital. Doctors told the relatives the sad news. In addition to the injuries received, Jan suffered from a brain tumor and soon fell into a coma. The prospects were disappointing. Grzyzewski could not last more than 3 years. But Jan's wife, Gertruda, was not about to give up. Every day, she not only did all the necessary procedures for her husband, but also constantly talked to him, sharing the latest news. It would seem like quite a meaningless occupation, but Gertruda saw Jan react to her words. She just thought everyone else didn't see it. The man's fingers trembled, and his eyes moved under his eyelids. but the doctors asserted that these involuntary convulsive movements meant nothing. But as Jan grew older, the size of the tumor decreased, allowing him to gradually regain consciousness. In the end, everything ended in a completely unexpected way. Mr. Grzebski came to himself on April the 12th, 2007. Doctors couldn't say anything. Turned out that Gertrude was right all this time. At the time when Grzebski fell into a coma, he had 4 children. Back then, Poland, or rather the then Polish People's Republic, was in a deep economic crisis. The workers constantly organized mass strikes, and in general, life was not easy. Imagine what was Jan's surprise when he discovered that the world around was completely different. And if he fell asleep in the era of communism, then he woke up in a country that had joined the European Union. When I went into a coma, there was only tea and vinegar in the shops. Meat was rationed, and huge petrol queues were everywhere. Now I see people on the streets with cell phones, and there were so many goods in the shops. It makes my head spin, Grzebski said in an interview. In addition, when he regained consciousness, Jan suddenly discovered that all his children had grown up long ago and had their own families, and he himself became the happy grandfather of 11 grandchildren. However, according to Grzebski himself, being a grandfather was not news to him, as Gertrude told him all about this, and the man heard every word. Another similar case occurred to a guy named Juan Torres. In 2013, when Juan was only 19, his parents discovered that he was unconscious on the floor of his own bedroom. The boy didn't speak, he couldn't eat or move independently. Doctors told relatives that the young man is in a vegetative state, and it was possible he could stay like this for the rest of his life. It was completely unclear why Juan suddenly disconnected from the world. The night before, nothing strange had happened to him, and he didn't feel unwell. According to the parents, he just came home from work, ate a salad, and went to bed. But something happened that night, and in the morning, the mother found Juan unconscious. It's been 2 whole years before some changes had taken place in his condition. One day on Thanksgiving Day, family members took the young man to the backyard to have some fresh air. Juan's favorite dogs were playing around, and suddenly his father made a strange decision. He put a dog's whistle on his son's lips, and suddenly Juan whistled. It was obvious this wasn't a simple reflex, and it soon became clear that the guy began to recover. Soon after the unexpected experiment, Juan began to move his lips, then whisper, and after all, he could speak on a par with others. Having fully recovered his voice, gradually other cool things returned too, like the ability to draw, play the piano, or play with the dogs. Juan even learns to walk again, and although this isn't easy, he's succeeding. Surprisingly, like the other heroes of our video, the guy claims to have memorized all that has happened in those 2 years. For example, asking doctors to move his arm or watching a tennis ball. And it's not just words. Using special tests, scientists have confirmed Juan did really see, hear, and understand everything that was happening. He also told he was very upset about this. He couldn't communicate with his family and wasn't able to do what the doctors asked him to do. It was really sad. In the end, Juan Torres was able to overcome his unknown disease, return to school, and even engaged in sports, including wheelchair rugby. The guy spends his free hours on a computer, writing electronic music, and the doctors, well, they still can't find any explanation for what happened to Juan. Perhaps youth and physical strength helped him to recover, but only these factors are not enough, because so few people come to their senses and live a full life, having been on the edge. Maybe it's just a miracle. Guys, it's time to reach.
So why listen to these stories of people that randomly just their bodies gave out, but their minds were still there? Their bodies gave out, but their minds were still there. And it just so happened. Unexplained, nobody knows. It happened to young people, older people. Nobody knows. One day the people will know. But think of it this way. There is body shutdown, but the mind is on. What if the body's on, but the mind is off? That is one of the scariest thoughts. And I'd like for you to have that percolate for a bit and kind of think about what that short clip had to say without saying it. Now, before we get into news, right? I wanted to revisit what we were talking about yesterday. It seems maybe someone was listening. I don't know who this person is, but I did tell you that FEMA has changed their zones and they're called the FEMA PA TAC contract map. And what's fascinating, someone's playing my thing, but I think they put the map on. Hold on. So did they find the map? Because I saw the picture of the map. Oh, gosh darn it. Well, we're going to watch their video, but I'm going to take it to where after the stuff we talked about yesterday. Let me just connect this here. So New York is zone 3. They found a map, which is quite fascinating how they found it, because I'm very impressed. See, just like President Trump said, it's us. But as you could see yesterday, we talked about the FEMA zones and how this was being surrounded by zone 2 and zone 1. But this one and this are the third zone. Well, zone 1, as they say, or zone 3, whichever. It's zone 3. So you have to think, why would New York, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Nevada, Arizona, these and this, which is Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, why would they have one zone on their own? So let's see what this Patriot put together. Now, considering that they've taken Mississippi and Alabama, I'm just going to assume Kentucky and Tennessee. As you can see on the map, region 4 is Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. So I would consider, since the majority of those states are included, that Tennessee and Kentucky are there, or else they would have fallen into region 2, right? Which means that this region, region 7, which is Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas, seem to be independent, which is a question you should ask yourself. What is in Kansas that would isolate it from regions surrounding them? So 2, 1, would we assume that this is 3? We can assume, maybe. Assume. Now, that would also include Puerto Rico, which is region 7 is Puerto Rico. But I would assume that would actually fall into region 3. So as you can see, this Patriot took my episode and found information. So look at the map carefully. You see that we have Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Nevada, Arizona, Guam, Hawaii, American Samoa, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, and New York as region 3. The cities. So it's a green zone. This is a red zone. This is a blue zone. Just pay attention. Don't ask me why. Maybe it's something I know. But here we are. This region is not, it's surrounded by 1 and 2. Well, it's actually just surrounded by 2. So they've excluded the core of those states. It's very important. What do we say we know is in Kansas? So let me show you some other advertisements so you understand like what's up. Because they've got environmental posts that they've put out. Let's see. Well, they asked for geologists, industrial hygienists. We saw that one. Where is it? They're offering health insurance. So from a staffing agency, it claims you must have a 4-year college degree, at least 2 years experience in the field of health scientists, hydrologists, soil, same thing, coastal engineers, water quality specialists. This is again for zone 2. water quality specialists, soil, geoecologists, structural engineers. They claim, please keep in qualified individuals must be a U.S. citizen, have a 4-year degree, blah, blah, blah. They say candidates with prior experience to FEMA disaster-related work experience with FEMA public assistance disaster response and recovery will be given preference. Please keep in mind, with the uncertainty in dealing with COVID, remember that there is a task order released by FEMA. We will not have work until there is a task order released by FEMA, we will not have work available. It is coming. We just don't know when. It could be a few weeks, could be a few months, and not everyone is chosen for deployment. I really want to share this with you guys. Give me a second. Let me see if I can, because this is what prompt was sent to me, and I found it in an archive, and it was further deleted by company. So I could pull up the breadcrumbs, and this is how I found all the other ones. They're putting them up and then taking them down the minute there's a response. This one was supposedly on for about 30 days. It was an older one that came up. So I really want you guys to see this. I told you what they are planning, and you can just trust your gut. Okay. Just think of it this way. What is it that you're seeing right now? What is going on right now? What are they telling you right now? How is this happening? And maybe that can make some sense to you. Here we go. I got the picture for you guys. So let me see if I can't zoom in, but here it is. It is coming. We just don't know when. It could be a few weeks, could be a few months. Not everyone is chosen. But when life returns to normal, FEMA provides a meal per diem, lodging reimbursement, and auto reimbursement, in addition to an hourly pay rate for those deployed in the field. Now, the staffing agency is actually located in Iowa, which is weird. And there's a lot going on with that specific staffing agency that I've been looking into. Their profile has been tampered with on Indeed in the past, 24 hours, 48 hours. And it's a bit of an issue for me, considering that means that there's a lot of people looking at what I'm looking at. And I want you again to remember, what is it that we're seeing here? We're seeing region 6, region 8, and region 5 considered zone 2. We're seeing region 1, 2, 3, and 4 as zone 1. And zone 7 is in the middle of zone. And actually, that's a correction, because I've been looking into Jacobs, and I have a lot into that company. That company, you need to pay attention. It's quite dangerous that I'm actually saying this. But the fact that New York, Puerto Rico, this is where they're going to be occupied. I want you to pay attention. You are looking at the cities and the countries. I told you to look out for Missouri, well, St. Louis, and then it came into the news. You're going to see more coming in. We can change this because, as the president said, it's the outsider that makes a difference. It's the person that does things because they love something that makes the difference. All of this is going on while we're picking out backsplashes and cooking dinner. They're conspiring on a plan that they've had for decades. Well, Tori, you should have told us sooner. Really? Would you hear it? Would you hear it? The only way that this would have happened for you to have ears to hear and eyes to see is to have had President Trump run and win. And it was inevitable that he was going to win. Inevitable. But in a sense, one has to think the fact that we had this nation back temporarily as a people, and then just to get it ripped out from under us tells us everything we need to know. Because the one thing of a great PSYOP is to raise someone's expectations, to mesmerize them with people like I know they're bots, right? But if you look at some of these people that have nothing to offer the people with their massive followings, you have to understand that they're psyoping you. Let me just continue this. Going to, like, why would you create a circle around a specific place? Again, what do we have in Kansas? I wanted you guys to pay attention. So what they're doing now is just hiring a lot of people for what you would assume would be a disaster that we've been talking about in regards to Wuhan. I hope you're seeing this. And you saw the pre-disaster video. So I want to play this old video that was on Fox Business a while back, where it was stated that it was a professor of King's College saying that the United States is too dependent on FEMA. This is during the Trump administration. This is during the time of, Hurricane Florence. But I want you to listen to what he says.
All right, the National Guard reportedly has 7,000 troops at the ready. They're there to respond to Hurricane Florence. Dozens of search and rescue teams in place on multiple military bases. But history has proven that we cannot always count on the federal government when it comes to disaster response. Since Hurricane Katrina, FEMA has wasted billions of taxpayer dollars. And that makes you wonder, is the private sector better at disaster relief than the feds? Well, let me ask Associate Professor of Economics at the King's College, Brian Brenberg, is here. Brian, it almost seems like there is a reliance on the federal government. Yeah. And somehow Big Brother is going to bail you out in those critical moments, or later on with a big fat insurance check.
Well, that's true. And FEMA was never meant to be what it's become, by the way. I mean, it was meant to be a last resort backstop when local and state officials said, we can't get it done and we need some help. It's not that anymore. FEMA is the first responder now. They're actually there before the storm even strikes. And you're right, they have a history of wasted money. They have a history of failing to meet expectations. But the problem is every time they show up, it creates the expectation among people in the region, they're going to be there if we need them. They become the insurance policy, really, that homeowners should be buying for themselves. And so now we're in that situation again. And you just talk to somebody on the phone there with expectations about what's going to happen here. And I think our expectations just get a little bit off of reality. Yep. And that's what really creates problems for people. They don't know how to respond when somebody doesn't show up.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, and there's a difference between self-reliance and dependency on the government. And there are people who are incredibly capable and they have the right tools and, they're smart and they prepare and they have foresight. I understand that, but sometimes nature is stronger than even those valid forces. And then there are those who just say, you know what, we'll be fine because it's disaster area. There's already been a state of emergency declared, so we will get insurance money.
Somebody's going to show up and take care. And there are a lot of people who think they're ready for these things. And then it hits and they say, whoa, this is way bigger. This is way tougher than we.
And it's going to be way bigger. What they have planned is way bigger. So again, I just want to show you one of the advertisements so that way you understand exactly. Here's another advertisement. This is coming out of, this is the Circle one I showed you. Let me show you another one. This one is from, again, Circle. Oh, that one's from Illinois. This one's, oh yeah. So I showed you the Illinois one before. Now you're watching the Bow Bridge, Louisiana one. Because Circle seems to have the contract to get these temporary hires in. But again, they are looking for archaeologists, biologists, commercial property ecologists, health scientists, water quality specialists, wetland specialists. I want you guys to pay attention to that. I want you guys to pay attention to that. This is another advertisement. This is out of Louisiana. Oh, and remember, I think I shared it, an IDCE badge thing that I had. I used to go to the International Disaster Conference and Expo in Louisiana every single year. I stopped going in 2018. I didn't go to the 2018 one. I want you guys to pay attention so you can understand what I've been telling you. There's a lot of people that for a very long time have been preparing for this. That's them right now. I don't know. I mean, I've told you what they have in store. But what I want to tell you is that a united America is an unstoppable America. And the question is, you've got to trust the people of Kansas to take it home, because there is no place like home. Funny how they're in the center of this chaos. And for some reason, they're a region being surrounded. I mean, it's over here. So I want to just say something.
This whole
Let me
thing right
pause
here.
this. Hats out to this person that put it together, and thank you. There's a lot of things that I must wait for public information before I can draw on it. People will be like, stop, this is our nation, you need to. You don't seem to understand. I don't toe the line, you never get any of it. And I'll explain, well, we'll take the countries and the cities. The cities will be occupied zones, buffering. Those that are surrounding ground zero will be where most of the battles are fought. And this area right here will be holding back. It'll be quite devastating if we allow them to execute as they wish, hypothetically speaking, of course. Kansas, it's all about the people there. Missouri, it's all about the people there. Nebraska, what are you doing, Harold Ham? What are you doing? You may have fended off the Chinese, but they're coming for you. Iowa, ever wonder why the Democrats love Iowa? It's no matter how many times you play out a scenario, there's always got to be that difference. And think about it. If you were an outsider looking down on humankind, you would see that humans aren't something that you can trust. Because, like many of you say, where are our special forces? Where are all these people? Where's the military? Who the fuck is General Abrams getting orders from? Where are these people coming from? There's no place like home. Come on, Harold Ham. You got that straw. Suck it up. We got to get Omaha on the map, and we've got to ensure that they do not do what they want to do. So on that note, I thought I'd let you in on just a nice kind of explanatory discussion. And this is from the actors that took part. I don't know if I should show the actors. Let me think. We should watch this movie. Give me a second. It's okay. So I hope you guys like this. This is for those listening, just absorb this. It's the best 5 minutes of, I want to say sci-fi, but I mean, we're even running out of conspiracy theories.
You're back.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Dan.
Subscribe to
Buzz Chomp. Woo! This is your Counterpart Season 1 recap. Woohoo! Baby, we have had a wild ride through Season 1 of Counterpart. There will be a full 10 episodes. I'm here to recap what has gone on because, oh my God, this mystery and conspiracy is intense. Counterpart kicked off episode 1, The Crossing. We really just got a full head-on introduction into this world through Howard Silk. Howard is our main man. J.K. Simmons plays our Howard and other Howard. And in this episode, we learned what the other side is. Howard met Howard. We saw Baldwin try to murder Howard's wife, Emily, who's in a coma on our side. This episode ended with an amazing cliffhanger. It was the first episode. And we saw other Emily was actually alive when other Howard told our Howard she was dead. Boom. Episode 2, Birds of a Feather. What a perfect title for the second episode of the season.
Now, before anything, we're going to stop it right there so you can get what he said. I wanted you to hear that first before I moved into really good stuff. So this is a pretty good show. And I think you'll enjoy it. Where is it? There it is. It's that one. Okay, you guys ready? I don't know if any of you have seen this. Have you guys seen this? Let me check the chat. Have you guys seen this? Have you guys seen it? Okay. Okay, those of you that haven't, maybe you should.
Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's quick review for Counterpart Season 1. This video is a part of a series of videos where I give a quick spoiler-free review of a show currently airing. In this video, I will cover Season 1 of the Starz original series, Counterpart. Although this video will mostly be spoiler-free, I will have to get into some slight spoilers from the first couple episodes in order to describe the premise of the show. So if you'd like to go into the show completely cold, knowing nothing about the premise, you may want to skip this video. However, I don't give away any specifics about the events that occur in the show, particularly in the later half of the season. I only get into the general premise of the show. In fact, I don't really cover anything that isn't covered in the trailer for the show. So if you've seen the trailer, I pretty much won't be adding anything that you don't already know. So, Counterpart was sold to me as a show about a parallel universe starring Academy Award winner J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for the film Whiplash, but also appeared in films like Juno, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, and shows like Oz. He is by all accounts an amazing actor. However, typically he plays the same sort of asshole character who goes around being incredibly cruel to everyone, like his character from Whiplash, Spider-Man, and Oz. But also from time to time, he can play a kinder, more gentler character like in Juno and Terminator Genesis. Here, we get to see him do both, as he plays two different versions of the same character. One is a gentle old man trapped in a dead-end job, and the other is a fast-talking, gritty spy. And J.K. Simmons is definitely a huge selling point for the show, as seeing him play these two characters is worth the watch just on its own. He does an amazing job, particularly when he has to play one of the characters pretending to be one of the other characters. It's a very tricky and nuanced thing that Simmons pulls off perfectly, and in that way it reminds me of Tatiana Maslany's performance in Orphan Black as being an amazing performance that upholds and elevates the whole show. But that being said, I think the story of Counterpart is stronger and is more to the show than just J.K. Simmons' performance. So Counterpart is a parallel universe story that takes place in modern-day Berlin. Although I don't think calling it a parallel universe is completely accurate, as it doesn't involve what you would typically think of as a parallel universe. As in most science fiction, a parallel universe refers to the theory of there being an infinite amount of universe which diverge based on choices and decisions that were made differently. And typically our characters from our universe visit these pre-existing parallel universes, such as the Enterprise crew going into the mirror universe in Star Trek, or Walter Bishop stumbling across a parallel universe in which his son is still alive in Fringe. The situation in Counterpart is actually different, as it doesn't deal with a pre-existing parallel universe. Instead, describes the situation during the Cold War in the 80s, where an experiment caused the world to be duplicated. In that instance, both worlds were exactly identical. However, as time passed, the two universes begin to diverge, and the parallel world ends up being entirely different and yet still the same. It reminds me of the Star Trek Voyager episode Deadlock, where Voyager is duplicated and you have two versions of the same crew, except this takes place decades after the duplication occurred, so the two different universes have diverged a lot since then. So both worlds keep this event a secret from the general population. However, the two universes maintain relations with one another where a somewhat treaty exists between them, where they share information and technology with one another, which is mutual beneficial, because as the two universes continue to diverge, each would advance in different areas, and this treaty allows them to benefit from both worlds' advancements. For example, the other universe makes more advancements in terms of medical technology, whereas our universe advanced more in, electronic technology. In particular, it's mentioned that our smartphone is far more advanced than anything that they had on their side. And one of the main points of differences between the two universes is that in the 90s, there was a massive plague that decimated the world's population and permanently affected the culture there to be more medical-based. And while the official stance of that universe is that the other universe had nothing to do with the outbreak, the show centers around a conspiracy of people who strongly believe that the Prime universe was responsible for the outbreak, since it didn't occur on that side. So they conduct espionage and from time to time murder people in order to enact a plan of revenge. In this way, the show reminds me a lot of the show Fringe, particularly in the second and third seasons, which dealt with a parallel universe who were suffering from disasters caused by our universe, and so would send agents over to the other universe for nefarious purposes.
So he was giving you the rundown, and now you're going to watch the trailer and basically what happened in the 80s during the Cold War, some unexplained event in, I don't know, I think it was like 1980. Well, it began in the 70s, but whatever. 1980, there was a war, supposedly, and the world was duplicated, but only one version of this world knew of the existence of the other one until they both discovered supposedly each other. One was lying that they just discovered themselves, and they had veered off. So where we have Bernstein Bears, they have Bernstein Bears, stuff like that. So I wanted to show you the trailer for this, the official trailer for season 1. And then we're going to shift gears to our news. I just wanted you guys to see it in a more streamlined fashion.
I have come to this building every day and done my job. 3 decades I've given to this office. But honestly, sometimes it scares me. I don't know what we do here. Have I done something wrong?
Someone's walked in from the other side.
The other side,
Whatever you do, don't panic.
Hi, Howard.
Billy, do you have any idea how lucky you are? No one gets to meet the other.
Other?
30 years ago, during the Cold War, there was an experiment. Something went wrong. They opened up a passage. When you go through this door, you come out the other side, you're in another world, identical to ours.
There was one reality, and then it duplicated. We share genetics, childhood. I want to know how you became so different. A kill order came out from my side, targeting people on your side. Handle is Baldwin. She's a contract assassin. Your wife may be her next target.
We're caught in the middle of something whether we want to be or not.
We should just build a wall and never come back.
I hate your side for what you've done to ours. You don't know these people like I do. They don't tolerate mistakes.
The last thing you want is me with nothing left to say.
Right. So that's quite interesting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the way things go. This is just for you guys to see this series. I believe we put together, when was it? 2019 that it came on the TV. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit of insight on predictive analytics, I guess. So, where do we start? Aside from the fact that this week has now suddenly released. Today, the concrete boots are off. It's Friday. And we're entering a really hot month. And I have to say, Ohio is making crazy waves. And I really don't want to be here in 2022, but I have to for the first half. But they've been making waves. You have been making waves. You, the people, have been making waves. This was so much fun to watch. Take a listen to this.
America is facing many threats, but perhaps the biggest threat right now is the infiltration of critical race theory into our schools. A theory that is teaching kids to not only hate America, but to actually hate each other. It's sad. They are learning that all white people are oppressors and black people are the oppressed. Critical race theory believes industry and academia, our entire nation really is, quote, inherently racist. It's not. But they push this system to get our kids, who were all previously colorblind, to now judge people based off of the color of their skin. It's backwards, right? Parents are fighting back across the country. In Rocky River, Ohio, they're making their voices heard in opposition to the district's diversity and inclusion program. In other words, critical race.
That's what's up. But you heard it here first, and this is why I switched Phoebe's school, right? Remember, she was told to read a book as to how disgusting people of her skin color are and how important it is that she's apologetic and bows down. Remember that? That was crazy. And that's why I prefer to be penny pinching and paying for another apartment somewhere else so my kid can go to school than have her be subjected to that. I mean, what's next? Are they going to put chains on white kids in class to demonstrate how they should respond? Because we've seen that happen in colleges.
Theory.
This is my opposition to the Marxist critical race theory instruction and practices being forced into our school systems.
Stop teaching the dangerous politics of group identity. The parents and taxpayers of Rocky River see right through it.
All right, well, there are groups now nationwide to fight this dangerous curriculum. U.S. Parents Involved in Education is at the forefront of this fight. It's an organization providing parents with resources to fight back against their woke school districts. Well, the communications director for the U.S. Parents Involved in Education group joins me now. April Few is her name. Also with us, a strong advocate for USPIE and author of the book, Words for Warriors. Our friend Sam Sorbo is here. April, Sam, great to have you both on the show.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So, April, I'm so glad you started this group, because one of the things I like to do on this program is give people tools about how to fight back. When was the moment you decided you needed to do something?
Well, I've been working for USPI for about 7 years now, and we have built a strong national coalition of parents who really started the fight against Common Core and then joined forces to create United States Parents Involved in Education because we saw that the problem was really coming down from the federal government. So with this latest fad, critical race theory, which has really been in the universities, as you mentioned on your show earlier, for quite some time, but it's now making its way down into K-12. And it's happening all over the country. It's happening in my hometown, which prompted us to create this guide for parents. I can go in step by step and explain what we're doing.
Well, April, let me do this. Let me put some of the things that you recommend parents to do on the screen right now. We've got a graphic, and then Sam, I'm going to ask you about it. So gather your facts, local coalition building, approach the school board, legislative remedies, state coalition building, and unite in friendship and respect. Sam, I know you're a parent just like I am. How afraid are you for your children that the color blindness is gone and starting at an earlier and earlier age?
Yeah, sadly, critical race theory is actually pushing racism, and we ought to be very clear about that. In fact, I heard of one parent who marched in there and said, "How dare you teach my daughter, who was biracial, that I am oppressing her? The mother is white." She said, "In fact, if anybody is oppressing her, it's her Black father who walked out on us when she was 2 years old," right? Mic drop moment. But that's not really what this is about. This is about separating children from their parents, turning them against each other, and turning them against themselves. This is about hatred for children. And so what April and US PI are doing is fantastic, because what they are encouraging parents to do is join together as a coalition, form some unity, form some power in numbers, and go to the school boards and start pushing back. And it's high time we did that. We've been putting up with this for too long. It's critical race theory is only the latest in all of the different evolutionary steps that they've taken to tear families apart.
Well, Sam, let me ask you, because I know, as Sam said, there is really great strength in numbers when it comes to this. What do you do when the school board just doesn't want to hear what you all have to say? I mean, excuse me, April. I'm sorry, April.
Well, there are legislative remedies that you can take. You can go to your elected officials. You can try to get legislation passed on the state level to prohibit critical race theory and all of its tenets, like the 1619 Project, culturally responsive teaching, because it's not called critical race theory anymore. But you can also use our guide at uspi.org and take over your school board. Get some people in there who understand, who aren't going to put up with this and tolerate this racist, divisive theory.
Well, sometimes that's all it takes, is to get right local candidates in there that can actually make a change from the local level. That's why I say local politics are so important. Don't just focus on it. Yes, Sam, real quick. I'll give you the last word.
I just want to say that we're fighting the unions, and we have to be cognizant of that. And the problem that we have is that the school board members are voted in, and then the unions train them to vote for the unions, basically no matter what. Critical race theory is a Marxist agenda. It's coming from our communist-controlled public teachers unions, and we have to be cognizant that we are fighting a bigger fight than that.
Well, Sam, I'll tell you, you're spot on, as always, because the unions are the biggest blockade to quality education in America today. We've already seen it. They're keeping kids out of school for no reason, and then this nonsense as well. Sam Sorbo, it's great to see you. April Few, thank you for coming on the program, ladies.
So as you see, what we've been talking about for a few months is quite important, that we need to take care of the unions. Now, I'm going to take you back in time. I just got that prompt. I'm going to look it up. But I was on the unions in September of 2019, trying to get them on their toes, which we did in a way, financially. But then Bloomberg came in the picture and kind of beefed up their deficit, and we missed that. Hold on, let me amalgamate it. Amalgamated Bank is the main bank for all unions. Let me share. So I searched on my site to find the articles that I did back in the day, because the unions were indeed the problem, always. So it's quite interesting how we see Biden use Google-backed company for influence operations, Told you that in October. Let's see, where are we? Exclusive. Okay. Could union-backed loan of 10 million by Amalgamated Bank be funding new and possibly violent protests? This is where they had planned with the AFL-CIO. And here, the new BCCI, Democrat Party exclusive bank. These are all things that I had put out there. Not showing you this to be like, hey, I told you so. I'm showing you this because people just didn't see what's right in front of them. So it's important to focus on what is happening right now, based on the knowledge that you know now and the eyesight you have now. So I wanted to pull these up and show you some very important portions of this. So the BCCI, you know, that scandal, right? Where they were, you know, funneling money for Mexican cartels, Chinese, you know, cartels, because they're the worst ones. You think that those are bad? Wait. So I want you to know that the people that have chaired these are people like Truman, White House counsel, etc. But here is where I broke it down, that Amalgamated Bank, for some reason, is using routing numbers. I already know the bank because I helped Soros buy that bank back in 2000. But all the money is being wired through New York, even though they're in Washington, D.C., and don't have an ABA routing number for D.C. Money laundering much? Anyway, the bank itself has a Class A rating, and that's because of the leverage they show on the books, which is fake. And what really hurt me, and I realized at that point, this is probably why the president hasn't been obtaining correct. So I had to find alternative avenues to get this information to them, was the hiring of his Secretary of Commerce. And that's the vulture angel investor. Now, one of them, so when the Amalgamated Bank was busted right after, you know, the whole Wall Street debacle that they did, you know, that they were funding it. Well, Ron Burkle, who was actually working, he was like a senior advisor to Eucopia, but he also worked for Clinton and Hillary for America, and he funded over $1 million into Hillary's run in 2008. He was one of them, and the other one was, of course, President Trump's Secretary of Commerce, Wilbur, right? And they saved the bank that was going to get caught. So this is the guy that runs the place. These are all DCC, DCCC, DNC. Now, you have to understand that they have trade unions. They have 20 branches in New York, California, New Jersey, Nevada, Washington, D.C., and they're and they have, they do asset-based lending. Wilbur Ross and Eucopia companies were the ones that bailed them out when they got busted. Here's the lawsuit. They got busted for DECA International. And I want to tell you, if you actually look into these companies, you'll see where all the green new banks are coming from, right here. And I made it clear, okay? Didn't the BCCI have similar investment funds in Luxembourg? Doesn't Brennan have investment times with the Saudis in Luxembourg? And we're not talking about MBS. We're talking about the other Saudis, like Saddam, for example. I'm just saying, one of the Saudis. Well, actually, there's 3 of them now left. So if I were the broke DNC, I would borrow money from my bank that houses all the NGOs and charities that support the causes I manufacture. If I were the broke DNC, I would borrow money from investors like Political Investments from companies in Germany, Ireland, and Luxembourg, just like the BCCI did. If I were the broke DNC and someone realized I had spent all the union money, I would quickly cover it up by losing money. I would tell my bank what money I know I can never move around to temporarily flash and appease balance sheets that will be written off. Maybe I'll invest the union money in companies like AOL, even though I know they're undergoing a merger. I'll pretend to just have bad luck. 56 million lost means 56 million I don't have to pay back. If I were the broke DNC, my piggy bank would support organizations and movements like Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter. I told you this in 2019. If I were the broke DNC, my piggy bank would be biased to progressive ideas, exclude customers and clients of political investment banking, and not be sued. If I were the broke DNC, my piggy bank and piggy bank CEO would be sitting in our office in DC, not our headquarters in New York. Political investment banking. So, member of Democracy Alliance, and this is it. I put that out, and then later, when I was talking about it on air, and then I published an article, right? Look at that. Keep an eye out for DNC Soros Progressive NGO Leftist Amalgamated Bank. DNC takes out $10 million credit line. See, all of this was there, and I'm not trying to say, you should have seen it. It wasn't time to see it. What I'm trying to point out to you is how much is out there, and there's no point in revisiting it, but arming yourself with what is coming so you can discern it. These are all the Democracy Alliance resistance efforts. These are the unions and the companies that run through Amalgamated Bank. Could union back loan of $10 million by Amalgamated Bank be funding new and possibly violent protests? That was before George Floyd. Pay attention. So this is where you can see who and what is involved. You can see, what is this? From the Arab Spring, guys. I'm pointing this out. This is not something, Lisa Fithian, guys, this is not something simple that happened overnight, okay? This has been ongoing, and this is why I'm demonstrating it to you this week. So when June hit, you understand that it was something that could not be stopped. Not because we didn't have the information to stop it, but because the people weren't at the point to understand it yet and see it. Here, FDIC caught Amalgamated Bank having open, I wonder who squealed on them, that were never closed or collected, identical to the way BCCI was caught for laundering money. But then, Obama was president, so if anyone spoke about him, look at Rachel, that dude, right? That dude, Rachel, as opposed to Rachel back then. So this is their lawsuit. They had a sign saying that they support the Occupy Wall Street movement. They were part of it. Look at what they are pushing. This is what they did. Look at what they did in Hong Kong. All of this email from to Hillary Clinton from Ken Volker when he asked her, we don't, this is an email, Politico, money, FEC records, all soft. But one thing that I want to tell my Texas peep, why is a red state like Texas using taxpayer money to collect union dues? Union dues are a scam, a Democrat scam, to have their hand in every blue collar worker's pocket. Do you pay union dues? Do you have a union pension? I'd start asking questions. This is a big problem. Now, because you're funding everything, kind of like you're funding these stupid little, lotteries for people to get the vaccines. You're funding the Democrats. You are funding the Democrats. This is something, as you see, 2019, I was warning about it, but obviously, people were too mesmerized with people decoding everything. That's the point. They psyoped you. Those people psyoped you. Those people that you trusted psyoped you. And now they're still psyoping you, because I can't even fathom how someone like that Santa Surfing that has been pushing bullshit has a following. Because I don't know anybody that watches her, and anybody that did doesn't. They're psyoping the crap out of you. They're psyoping the crap out of you. How do they have those followings? Who are they again? They are the ones psyoping you. Because if they weren't, they'd be giving you the real news, which a few of them are getting on board. Better late than never. Regardless, I don't know if I can forgive that. I'll try really hard. I believe in redemption, but I digress. All of these people that have come out to tell you how to think, give you pipe dreams, right, are all hacking your reality. All of them. They don't even know who they're decoding. You do. I definitely do. But they don't. The thing is, there is nothing that can stop what's coming. There's nothing that can stop what's coming. They've already planned it decades ago. They have gone on with their plan regardless of what hiccups they get. Regardless of what hiccups they get. They are going with their plan. And like they said, it's coming. They said it in their advertisement, but we just don't know when. Okay? These people are sick. And as if you can see, I've been drawing your attention to the center of our heartland, which is the center of our food supply, the center of everything. And it seems that the people of Wuhan, Kansas, that are supposedly mayors and city council, get in there and take that shit over. I've been telling you that. There's different, we have to get signatures. When I hear shit like that, I'm like, then you have, so what you're saying is you're making excuses as to why you don't have the balls to do it. Just like the president said in the video when I started my show today. It's that people don't have the courage. People don't have the ability to stand up and stand their ground. Oh, but I do, Tori. I just don't know where to start. You don't need anyone to tell you where to start. Just start from the middle. Start from the end. Start from the beginning. Start somewhere. But you've got to put your feet down because it doesn't matter. Regardless, what's coming is going to happen. Can't be stopped. How hard do you want it, though? Do you want it to come at the speed that they fancy it? Do you want it to come at the speed that they want? Because that's going to be a boulder. You can make it a pebble to you and a boulder to them, or they can throw the boulder at you, and then you can throw a few pebbles at them. Regardless, it's happening. Now, for some reason, just like the FEMA comment that was made years ago, people are too dependent on other people. You need to stand up and do it yourself. You don't go in there and barge in there, guns a-blazing. That's the way you fail. You're still free on paper. Use that. You're still free on paper. Use that. The deadline's coming up. And maybe this time around, I had too much faith in humanity. I have faith in humanity. So many people have scoffed at the idea of entrusting, just humanity in general, because they're so evil. They're so filled with self-preservation. And every single time, right? Every single time an attempt was made, well, a leader came out, a group of leaders come out, right? To guide the people, because unfortunately, a lot of them need guiding, they say. There's a failure. It always fails. It always comes back to it. They were psyoped very well, actually, back in early 2000 to delay what was coming because it should have already happened. And it was going to happen in a really brutal fashion. But then 9/11 happened. They caused that themselves. But now we're at that point where it's like, have you ever seen where someone's like betting on that horse and everyone's like, you're such a loser. Like that horse, has its leg tied or it's three-legged. What are you doing? Because, time and time again, that horse has shown to fail. because the horse can't even follow the leader. And so, you know, I'm always the type of person of redemption. That's where you redeem yourself. So I believe that in a subtle way, empowering the people to understand just how powerful they are, there'll be enough of them to wake up and not stop, but give a soft landing. Every person is a leader. You do not need someone to shepherd you. You do not need someone to hold your hand. You do not need a leader. You are a leader. So today in the morning, I had an appointment for, you know, that TMJ stuff. And I went to my orthodontist since I'm going to be traveling. And I noticed one thing. The technicians that he had that were doing like the bracing part, right, for me, he was teaching. And it was one orthodontist and there were 10 rooms with people. And what I realized was that he was creating leaders within his practice. And this is why he's so successful, because they weren't just assistants. Oh, let me like prime for the bonding and stuff. He would show how it's done, why it's done like that. So it's really, really important that guidance is given so that people understand. It's like someone training to be a master baker. They start, you know, just prepping the flour and sifting the flour. Well, consider the past 5 years a crash course. So the past 5 years has been a crash course to the people to awaken. And Counterpart said something interesting, how they're saying that the QAnon, regardless if it was skewed at some point, and still, regardless, they claim it to be so big like Christianity. And they compared it to that. Now, nobody still doesn't know who the OG is. They compare it to that. Why? Because when Jesus was here and spoke and guided people and created teachers and spread a message of love, of unity, and of hope, right? It changed the way people saw their neighbor. It changed people the way they saw themselves with their neighbors. It changed the way they saw the world. And so when the New York Times, was it the New York Times? It was the New York Times, right? Yeah, it was the New York Times. When they made that comparison, it shows you just how much they fear that this will be another awakening of the spirit again, as they saw with Jesus. And that is what's important. Now, hope is inspirational, like someone just said. Hope is inspirational. But hope is also a deterrent of action when you have full faith in hope. So it's important that we understand just how important the awakening of understanding your surroundings. So the situational awareness, that's what people lack. I like that. Situational awareness, because situational awareness for those that have been in the field, you know, that means to know your ground, know who's around you, know where you're going and what you're anticipating. The majority of the US population doesn't know what's going on, where they're at. It's kind of like they're strung and thinking, well, what's happening? How is this moving along? Where do I stand? What's 100 feet from me? What's a mile from me? What is surrounding me? What's flying over me? What's flowing under me? People really don't have situational awareness. Now, it's quite difficult when you have so many components and so many variables. So the only way to get grounded is to be able to identify key factors that alter that. And the only way you do that is by paying attention to your gut, by paying attention to your core and your beliefs and what you can understand. That's all. That's all. You don't need anything else. Nothing else. Just yourself and faith in yourself. I mean, what has happened to people trusting their gut? If something sounds too good to be true, what's the rule of thumb? It probably is too good to be true, right? So that's what's important to remember. We have to be able to discern things a lot better. The truth cannot be canceled. So on that note, let's take a quick break so I can get some coffee in. I definitely want some coffee right now. And, well, actually, I think a Red Bull is better. And I want to play the video for you so you guys can watch it. Before I start it, though, I'm so sorry, YouTube and Facebook. And, you know, I'm going to have to say goodbye. I don't want YouTube and Facebook to terminate my account. One might say, what do you care? Nobody's watching it. Yeah, there are a few people watching it. And if they can watch it, then I want them to. So during this intermission, while we listen and watch the song Canceled, come on over to Twitch or Trovo. I'll see you guys in just a bit.
I can't be canceled, there's no way that you can stop me. Fully independent, there's no label who can drop me. Y'all been starting rumors, let me help you with some. Yeah.
He's a racist, he's a sexist, he's in love with Donald Trump.
Y'all can't cancel me, my life is scandal free. There ain't no sponsors taking losses cause the brand is me. My hands are clean, my family and my fans agree. Y'all can't cancel me for facts because you're mad and weak. Go ahead and tell the world I'm ugly and racist. I braid my hair and I don't care about cultural appropriation. I moved to the ghetto, lived in the ghetto, there's no Caucasians. And still I loved every single one of my neighbors. How's a man say I'm clickbait if he gonna use this face to get clicks on his page? Y'all hypocrites are made. But I ain't tripping about these bullies, it ain't 6th grade. Go ahead and diss me trying to sell a couple mixtapes. I'm not afraid, take my face and my name, paste it on the front page. I'm already famous and you'll never change it by hating or claiming you'll take it away. My grind wicked, write my rhymes different. You can try to quantify, define limits. There's a dying gimmick and denying winning. This is pure fire, this ain't white privilege. I do what I want, get all the Gucci and Louis Vuitton. Out of my closet, out of my crib, I do not want it. That is for kids, that is for rappers who ask you to beats for free, pretending I lie like they rich. I am not playing it safe, I said what I said, it is what it is.
I don't care if you mad at me, okay? Go ahead and change the channel. No wasting time trying to cancel me. They love me cause they know that I'm it. Say what you want, I guess it is what it is. Haters can talk, but they can't cancel the kid. Go ahead and go off and try and say this is it. Like I swear to God, you can't cancel the kid.
Everybody knows my name, from local folks to global fame. I'm vocal about the social justice movements. I expose the fakes, turn rappers into ghosts and graves. Make no mistake, they bones will break. I'll throw them in the wolf enclosure, slowly turn and close the cage. Acres full of sheep, you know that I'm the only goat. I'm great, they spoke my name to mostly hate. I don't complain, I'm woke, I wait. A total focus soldier, wrote the art of war. Know every page, I'm numb to all the dumbness. Smoke tobacco laced with Novocaine. I won't behave, I stoke the flames. I'll choke their throats with golden chains. These vocal cords are skipping ropes and jump till I am soaked in brains. From open plains to coastal waves to solar rays in open space. Can't find nobody doper unless you poke your veins and snort cocaine. Whoa, y'all can't cancel me. Just get mad that I'm the man until you smash the screen. Like, whoa, I can handle heat. I walk through hell in open sandals drinking gasoline. Yeah, I could have been a star, could have had a mansion and a car and a Grammy album on the charts. I'm a savage, Randy with the bars. I don't rap about Xanax, goddamn it, can't cancel facts. We need answers, championing trash to the masses actually massively damages. keep trying to cancel me. Yo, I own the master, so yo. I make the beats, I write the songs, I own the cameras, yo. Could have been famous, dumb my music down till it's basic. Get it on the hottest Spotify playlist, modify my catalog and go mainstream, yo.
I don't care if you're mad at me, okay? Go ahead and change the channel. No wasting time trying to cancel me. They love me cause they know that I'm it. Say what you want, I guess it is what it is. Haters can talk, but they can cancel the kid. Go ahead and go off, try and say this is it. But I swear to God, you can cancel the kid.
I feel like all these rappers lately on a mission. They starting drama, they don't really want no problems, so they talk in whispers. Don't even start, no competition, y'all are finished. They say they feeling froggy, but I bet none of these frogs gon' rip it. They think I'm soft, but I promise y'all that I'm solid like a rock inside a Teflon box and dipped in carbon fiber liquid. I'm not religious, but I walk with Christians. If Jesus died for all my sins, he'd need 1,000,000 crosses tall as buildings. Y'all can cancel me. I'm a god and you're the devil, stop attacking me. Like, whoa, nails in my hands and feet. Y'all some snakes, I don't need fruit from that apple tree. I ain't doing features or buying beats. I'm a wolf on live with sheep. I am what I am, I can't hide my teeth. Way too many rumors, I'm like, who said it? Never met him. If he dissed me, probably about to drop a new record. I do what I want, no matter if I get approved or not. Y'all ain't gonna cyberbully me or try to push on me until I'm becoming some dude who I'm not. Head full of ludicrous thoughts, producing the songs. My music is truth and you brutally shocked. I'm shooting my shot, I'm Biggie, I'm Shady, I'm New School Pop. Go ahead and call me a piece of garbage, make a starving artist your primary target. I'm the largest monster in the farthest darkness. I'm a closet sharpened, I'm an army sergeant. If people wanna hate, then I'm grateful. Only gonna make what I say less painful. Look at my face, embrace them unstable. I ain't gonna break a shake or feel shameful.
I don't care if you're mad at me, okay? Go ahead and change the channel. No wasting time trying to cancel me. They love me cause they know that I'm it. Say what you want, I guess